So next up, we have a presentation from PharmAust with the ticker code PAA, a company focused on clinical stage drug development, targeting cancer therapeutics for both humans and animals. To tell us more, I'm joined by Executive Chairman, Dr. Roger Aston. Hello, Roger, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Okay, so PharmAust is repurposing a veterinary drug, which is an antiparasitic, and is targeting cancer with it. And we're targeting a number of conditions: canine cancer, neurological disorders, and human cancer. So how do you go from a sheep drench to the treatment of motor neuron disease in man and human veterinary cancers? This really boils down to a professor who brought the drug from his hobby farm to his research laboratories in Sydney, and showed that the antiparasitic was effective in some 40 cancer cell lines. And it's history from there. We picked it up after that and licensed it from the hospital and the university, and have been pushing ahead with development and reformulation. As you can see, it's not a drench, it's a tablet that we've produced. And we're in trials, both with neurological and cancer. So the drug itself is called Monepantel. It's an antiparasitic. It's given as a drench to sheep and so on. And we've basically taken this and identified that it also has activity as an anti-cancer drug. So it's a safe and potent modulator of the mTOR pathway, which is central in metabolism and cell replication. And influencing metabolism is, of course, key to cancer activity, which is usually a matter of out of control cells. The mechanism of action is called mechanistic target of rapamycin. It's a central pathway and key pathway for influencing cancer growth and metabolism, neurodegenerative diseases, and even viral activity. Today, the global mTOR inhibitor market now exceeds 2.5 billion. Why MPL? Well, the drug is already registered in 38 countries and by the APVMA in Australia. Substantial time and cost savings by going for an already registered drug because somebody else has underpinned the toxicology and biochemistry of the drug. Very low toxicity provides a significant advantage over existing mTOR antagonists for the treatment of oncological diseases. So this is a rather unique product in the sense that it interferes with the mTOR pathway, but is not immunosuppressive, so it can be used in a different way than other mTOR drugs. It also crosses the blood-brain barrier, which is why we're looking at neurological conditions. Next slide. Current options for people with canines which have developed B-cell lymphoma are either euthanasia within 8 weeks of diagnosis, or going on to chemotherapy. B-cell lymphoma has been our model system for the canine product, which we're developing and seeking to register soon. Entering this market is really a matter of bridging the gap between early euthanasia in dogs and the risk of A&Es and chemotherapy, which is called CHOP. So typically what happens with canines with B-cell lymphoma is they present and they put on prednisolone almost universally, which gives them 60 days for the owner to decide whether to euthanize them. We add MPL to the prednisolone and we increase median survival to 147 days with excellent quality of life. And if you look at the chemotherapy, the CHOP bar, you can see that the pricing is really very high. It's $10,000 plus per course of treatment. And for over 100 days of that 345 days for median survival, you are busy treating the dog with chemotherapy, which has its own sets of disadvantages. So we're weighing up the benefits of Monepantel against CHOP or chemotherapy. If you look at the left-hand side of the balance, you can see that if you treat your dog with CHOP or chemotherapy, pregnant women and small children have restricted access to the dog. The chemotherapy can be between 4 and 6 months intensive treatment. And there's, of course, typical potential side effects. On the other hand, on the other side of the scales, we've got quality of life, which is our principal strategy with canine cancers. A simple daily oral tablet, which is not chemotherapy, so it can be handled from the home. Safe for pregnant women, safe for children, and normal family pet interactions, which you don't have with CHOP. So in combination with prednisolone, MPL has provided an average extension of median survival of 21 weeks with excellent quality of life. So now we're engaging with global veterinary companies for licensing. And the reason we've emphasized now the cancer applications in vet is because, of course, the drug is already registered for vet and is being sold for vet. So transitioning it to canine cancers is a lot less work. But also, it's a good stepping stone to go into humans. Typically, what happens in canines also happens in humans. Most of the drugs that we give our dogs when they get cancer are the same drugs as we give our patients in hospitals. So a licensing deal would mark a significant commercial outcome for us, and this is currently being explored with a number of companies. We also have been working on neurological disorders, and in particular MND, which is a group of diseases which are listed below. We are aiming to block the attack of motor neurons, which destroys the connections between the brain and the motor muscles, the skeletal muscles, such as for walking, breathing, speaking, and swallowing. So we're running a trial at the moment in patients in both Sydney and Melbourne, where we're showing that, or where we're investigating the drug in slowing down the development of MND. The first approved treatment for MND was riluzole, and it became available in 1995. It's believed to extend survival by only 3 to 4 months, with many side effects. Despite this, riluzole is already reaching $1 billion in sales annually. We believe we can target this disease next. Australia's largest MND charity reviewed our properties that we have demonstrated for MPL and its performance in cancer and awarded PharmAust $880,000 to clinically evaluate MPL in MND progression. PharmAust expects that MPL will be an antagonist to mTOR and slow down the production of misfolded proteins, and hence reduce localized inflammation and associated motor neuron damage. So in conjunction with Macquarie University, New South Wales, and Calvary Healthcare, and the statewide Progressive Neurological Disease Service in Victoria, we've treated a cohort of 6 patients for a period of 28 days. All of the patients, interestingly, elected to remain on the treatment after completion, which bodes well for safety and practicality of the drug. Cohort 2 has commenced screening, and we're hoping that we'll be able to push through the cohort 2s, 3 and 4 reasonably quickly. Interim analysis of cohort 2 completion to determine prognostic MND outcomes. So we're doing an interim analysis to explore whether we're having an impact on the progression of MND. So the next step is to move into human cancers. We have already got interest out of the US from an investigator who's prepared to evaluate that. We have done a trial in human cancer a number of years ago, and that was at the Royal Adelaide Hospital in Sydney. We know we're active in cancer, as you've seen from the canine data. So strong data from the aggressive B-cell lymphoma in canines suggests positive correlation will translate into humans. We'll examine the value of MPL in at least 1 human cancer in 2023. I think I'm going to push on to the next slide again. So we've got 2 upcoming catalysts for the product. One of them is the completion of the interim analysis of the MND trial. The other one is a corporate outcome with the vet cancer product. That's the team. Thank you.
Roger, thank you for the great presentation. We've had a lot of questions come in, so let me jump into it. So are you pacing the trials to coincide with patent expiration dates?
Oh, yes. We've got new patents on our product since we acquired it. So the runway we've got is between 10 years and 20 years at the moment. And the owners of the drug filed their patents back in 2001, 2002. So they're all expiring at the moment. So we're ready to go.
Wonderful. Next one come through. So are all the patients from the first cohort of MND trial still taking MPL? And how long has the longest patient been taking it?
They're still taking MPL, and it must be about 2.5 months now since they've been taking it. So it's good news. It's always good when the patient takes the drug and wants an LX to stay on it for as long as possible.
Thank you. Next one. So what will a typical licensing deal look like with an animal healthcare company?
Typically, we've got two options. Either they will buy the veterinary business out. It's a big, canine cancers are a big market. They're about $500 million a year. We love our dogs. And we expect that possibly a buyout, but there's also the potential of a license agreement where we'll get upfront payments, milestone payments, and a royalty at the end of the day.
Thank you, Roger. Another one that's popped up. So when will cohort 2 be fully recruited for MND?
Soon, I hope. we have to wait for patients to be screened and sign a consent form to join the trial. So we've already recruited some. I hope we've informed the market of that, and we'll continue recruiting.
Well, Roger, there's another one that's popped up. It's not a question, but just a quote from Michael. So he said, "My dog is enrolled in this canine trial, and he can attest to the accuracy of the company's assertions. So he's got a fantastic quality of life," which is a great testament to what you're doing there.
Well, that's what it's all about with dogs. You don't want a dog that's sick.
Absolutely. Well, Roger, that's all we've got time for today. Again, webinar attendees can reach out via the contact details on the bottom of the ASX releases, but we look forward to hearing further updates in the near future.
Thank you.